You guys doing today?
Doing great.
Hi, Andrew. Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, if you guys could just introduce yourselves and give your title, and then just a little short bio about you and your credentials, and then the hospital and team that you're part of.
Oh boy, that's a lot.
Again, it's flip here.
I'll start. All right. So my name is Denise Downey, and I'm the Nursing Professional Development Specialist for the Emergency Department here at Boston Children's Hospital. And as NPD Specialist, I'm in charge of all of the education for the nurses here in the Emergency Department, but I also collaborate with other educators throughout the hospital. So we have really one big team here. And the reason we're here today, I guess, is to talk about our Small Talk podcast team, which is an incredible team that got together to create what we call our Small Talk podcast because we work in pediatrics.
You're up, my friend.
No, I want you to go next.
I'll go get it over with.
And I'm Teresa Shannon, and like Denise, I'm also a professional development specialist. I'm a unit-based educator up on one of the inpatient medicine units at Boston Children's Hospital. And I think Denise really explained our work with Small Talk quite well. I do a lot of work coordinating education for nurses, but also do a lot of interdisciplinary work, education work as well with our residents from our medical program.
And I'm Kate Donovan. I'm the Clinical Director of Innovation here at Boston Children's. I work for the inpatient medical programs and the ICP, our intermediate care program here at Children's. I also collaborate closely with our simulation program, or the immersive design systems is their new name change, as well as the Innovation Digital Health Accelerator, who has been a supporter of the podcast since the beginning. So it's been fun.
I'm glad. Well, it's great to meet you all. First, what made you guys decide to want to submit your team to the All Pro Nursing Award?
Well, that's a great question, Andrew. And I think to get started, a little bit of history about the podcast. So, a couple of years ago, I became interested in podcasts as a way for nurses just to share education or some other methodology as far as giving nurses an opportunity to learn something new in a way that was going to be convenient to them, but also in a way that was going to be worthwhile. So I was thinking about podcasting, and initially, when I reached out to Kate, because she is our technology guru, I asked her about doing a podcast and how could we do that. And so she was able to figure out a way that we could record a podcast. And then she also introduced me to Teresa, who, as another educator, was also interested in podcasting. So early on, we started to record podcasts about topics that were relevant for nursing education, such as certain diagnoses, like asthma, sepsis, bronchiolitis was another one. And I can tell you that early on, you could definitely tell we were novices at podcasting because our content, our delivery was a little bit, with all due respect, boring.
It was terrible. Yeah, it was terrible. Wouldn't say it was boring. It was very robotic and very rehearsed. It was, when you think about nurses, right? You think very task oriented. So we wanted to hit some topic questions and things that we thought people would be interested in, without realizing it's really the storytelling that's so powerful. So when we, get bored some days and listen to those old ones just to see how far we've come, yeah, they weren't great at all.
No, no. But it was a learning curve for us, which was fine. But what we realized was far more interesting was to actually talk to people that are in various roles throughout the institution and get a little background as far as what they do for their work and also why are they interested in working at Boston Children's Hospital and what keeps them here. So really what motivates them to do their job. So we started interviewing folks with that perspective. And we found it was really not only interesting, but it was fun. And as we started doing this, we realized that we needed more help, that we needed more creativity, we wanted more ideas, we wanted other nurses to be able to host if they were interested in doing so, or if they were just interested in being part of the podcast, but not on this side of the microphone. So that's we really opened it up to other members, other nurses throughout the hospital to join our team. And we did have several people who were very interested and they hopped on. And once we started recording and listening back, and we ended up getting Nursing Continuing Ed for our podcast episodes. So we really needed more of a team in order to get our podcast up and running in a way that was going to be valuable to nurses. And so the folks that hopped on to join us were really motivating us to do a better job, to do more topics, to interview other personnel throughout the hospital. And we've just been growing ever since. So it really is a team that's gotten together with one goal in mind, just to help educate nurses, but also to bring the institution together as a community, again, because we're talking to employees throughout the hospital and we're hearing their stories. And it just really promotes a sense of community. And that's what's been so much fun about the podcast. And our team is just remarkable. Everyone has contributed and they are just so motivated and they love the work that we're doing.
Our leadership also socialized the All Pro Award, and we decided as a team we'd go for it with zero idea that we would actually be acknowledged for this. So this was pretty exciting for us. We just kind of went and did it without, I don't know, I never thought we were going to win it. I mean, it was awesome. I didn't do it just because we didn't going to win it, but I never thought we'd win. Right?
Oh, I had a feeling we'd win. No. I'm more confident than you am. No.
Well, you guys are obviously doing great work with what you're doing, and you touched a little bit on the history of the podcast, and I'm wondering, how does the podcast like evolve since you guys started? What has changed in the way that you've been able to make this such a successful thing that you guys are doing there?
I think Denise really started to hit on this. I think it was expanding our team, and we have representation now from different departments, nursing departments in the hospital. And also, we made it's an interprofessional podcast, so we're involving not only nursing, but we're getting representation. We're getting interest from other departments like physical therapy, other disciplines, occupational therapy. We have some of our physician colleagues have joined us now on a couple of the podcasts that we've made, like interprofessional. We've had brought physicians and nurses together to talk about their journey and their experiences working and collaborating. But I think really, opening it up to other people, other areas in the enterprise has really helped, like Denise mentioned, as far as not only expanding our listening audience, but bringing ideas and different perspectives from their areas.
I think it's also learning about each other. I think Denise kind of changed the tagline later on, which I just absolutely adore. And she basically says, we learn about these folks through the art of conversation. It's not just about the topic at hand. It's about, and you mentioned this, Denise, it's about learning about our colleagues and the people around the hospital that really make everyone, this place runs on everyone's passion, and everyone who comes to the table seems to be passionate about their job. Like, we literally haven't had any guests that you step away going like, eek. It's just awesome to be able to have, surround yourself with these cool people.
Well, that's fantastic. I also wanted to know, since I know that your podcast started in the fall of 2019, so it was right before everything happened with the pandemic. And I just want to know, was that more of like a struggle or a helpful situation for you guys? Because obviously you can podcast in isolation, as we sort of kind of are doing right now with this. I just want to know if it put like a strain on what you guys were doing. Were you worried that this wasn't going to work because it was just so new and this came out of nowhere to sort of take everyone by surprise? Or did you use the pandemic as a way to have something to talk about and then continue on with more topics after that.
Yeah, so I think early on, knowing that we were just starting out with the podcast right before the pandemic, so when we first started recording, we would hold recording sessions in a soundproof room that was here at Boston Children's Hospital. And so our guests were physically in the same room as we were. And it was really fun, I think, in the beginning, but then COVID hit. And we weren't able to meet in person anymore. So the podcast really took a little break for probably just over a year because we didn't think that we would be able, or we were hoping to be able to get back together to interview people in person. And we were just waiting for the okay to do so. But then as time was going on and on, we realized we weren't going to be able to be sitting in the same room again. So that's when Kate really pulled everything together and figured out a way to record over the Zoom platform. So we were able to maintain social distancing and other things. And so once Kate figured that out, we were able to get back on track again. And that's really been helpful for our guests because they don't have to meet us anywhere. They can just sit and chat with us in the comfort of their own living rooms or wherever they happen to be. So it really made it a lot easier for us. Even though it was hard in the beginning, we thought we were going to have to just pause for an indefinite amount of time. But then we weren't. And using the Zoom platform, we were able to pick it right back up again. So in a way, COVID was a hindrance in the beginning, but then it made us be more creative, and that helped us in the long run.
And I think it actually expanded our opportunities because now we can have guests that aren't working on the Boston campus take part in the program. We set up our recording sessions to be at the end of a day so that people are free from meetings and other clinical responsibilities to be able to participate. They can be home, they can be at one of our satellite clinics and still participate.
I think the pandemic actually helped us because things like Zoom that were basically one audio file could then be separated out to as many people as I had. So as far as the editing, the post-editing process, I was able to take everyone's audio file and do what I wanted with it, which is cool. And that didn't happen when the pandemic first started. So I think the technology is really what allowed us to move forward. And then even with the newer technologies that are out now, using artificial intelligence and whatnot to be able to throw some of these audio files in there and see magic happen with people's voices, it's pretty cool. I mean, even what you're using, Riverside, is a great platform as well.
Yeah, it's great. And, you guys have obviously had such a interesting history with the evolution of the podcast, going through the pandemic, learning how to deal with that, learning a different platform to, podcast on, opening your horizons. So with all that already happening, what do you see as the future for the podcast and your team in general?
I see us being the top podcast in the nation.
I love the enthusiasm. That's great.
I wish that was how. Actually, we're making a lot of changes as we speak, and what this actually has been somewhat of the reason why is that we're starting to get a little bit more light on the podcast. Initially, when we started this, we were thinking maybe keeping it internal, having it as a companion education for our staff. But now people are looking for it, so we're going to be expanding to all platforms. We have a website that we just built. So we're gonna continue to do this. It's gonna be fun.
As long as it's fun, we'll keep doing it.
That is a requirement, actually.
That is a requirement.
You gotta love what you're doing, and I can tell that you all genuinely love this with the way that you talk about the podcast, the way you talk about your team and each other. It's just fantastic, and you guys are obviously building and continuing to build on something that's already, set in foundation and great. So that I appreciate you guys for what you do. It's really great to see that you guys are doing such a great job. And is there really anything else that you guys want to put out there for anyone else to know?
Yeah, I have to say, you're only meeting 3 of us. So there's, 5 more of us. And if you think that the 3 of us make a good team, you should see when we're all together.
And I think the other thing is that, looking to the future, we'll probably include a lot of patients and families as we move forward as well, because what they're talking about is very impactful of how we learn and move forward as well. But yes, our team is awesome. I can't say enough about the team, and the majority of us that are doing this are doing it on our own time. So this is very much somewhat of a volunteer effort, and the fact that we get to work with such cool people like this makes it awesome.
Well, that's great. Denise, Teresa, Kate, thank you so much for sitting down today and talking a little bit about this. I really appreciate it. And good luck to you guys and your podcast in the future. I can't wait to see it shoot up the charts. It's definitely going to get up there one day.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having us.